Hey guys. Um, Today I wanted to talk about a particular case that, um, the trial is going on right now, but I just wanted to talk about it because it's a case that's been a long time in the making. This started in 2015, and it's just now going to trial. So some of you may know about it, some of you may not know about it, but um, I just think that one, the victim deserves it. I mean, she deserves some recognition because I kind of feel like people have forgotten about the whole case. But this is the Crystal Rogers case, and Crystal Rogers, well, she disappeared in on July the 3rd, the night, late night, July the 3rd, 2015. She was living with her boyfriend at the time. She was 34 years old at the time, had 5 children. She was living with her boyfriend, who was also the father of her youngest child. His name is Brooks Houck, and they had been living together. On the night of the 3rd, they had gone out to some family property of his, and according to him, had fed the cows. They had their young child with them. They had fed the cows and had a fire going because he said that he didn't like taking his construction trash all the way out to the landfill, so he would go out there and burn it. And basically said that they ended up leaving the farm, as he called it, um, around midnight. He said that they went home and that when they got home, to make a long story short, I mean, there are some other little details in here, but just make a long story short, um, he decided to go to bed. He took the baby with him to bed, and he said that he left Crystal on the couch in the living room and playing games on her phone. Um, the next morning, he woke up and she was not home. She was not in the bed with him, wasn't on the couch, wasn't anywhere. He called a few people to check to see, if anybody had talked to her or seen her, and the few people that he called that day had not seen her or talked to her. So basically, that was on the 4th. On the 5th, she did finally get reported as missing. Not by him, though, by her mother. um, and that's what started this whole thing. Um, this case, it's got some elements. I kind of wanted to mention it too because we just dealt with the Karen Reed thing and the whole um, police officers not necessarily being honorable the way that they should. This case has a little bit of element of that in it too. So anyway, basically, the police start calling him in. Of course, they call him in for an interview, and as he's sitting there in the interview, his phone rings and it's his brother, Nick Houck, who also happens to be a Bardstown. This is in Bardstown, Kentucky, by the way. Sorry, forgot that. Um, Bardstown police officer, and tells him basically to shut his mouth and get up and leave. Now that's kind of weird. I mean, that's your brother, the cop. You're in there to give a statement about your live in girlfriend, baby mama going missing, and your brother calls you in the middle of the interview and tells you to shut up and leave. So that's what he did. That immediately kind of, you know, put the gave put the wrong taste in the mouth of the investigator. The head investigator on the case was Lieutenant John Snow with the Nelson County Sheriff's Department, and at that point, he got it pretty quickly that he felt that both of them knew something. Um, but with the evidence that they had, nobody could find her. Nobody had seen her. Nobody had heard from her. A couple of days later, they did find her car out on the Bluegrass Parkway. It had a flat tire. It was on the, shoulder of the road. Had a flat tire. Inside the vehicle, her keys were in there, as well as her cell phone, which and eventually would become a big part of the case. Um, immediately her parents, Sherry and Tommy Ballard, they, hit the ground running, looking for their daughter, putting up posters, talking to people, going to the media. And what they also realized was that her living, boyfriend, the father of her youngest child, was doing nothing. So they continued. Um, and they also were very vocal in the fact that they thought that he had something to do with it. Um, about 16 months after Crystal went missing, on November the 19th, 2016, her father, Tommy Ballard, was taking one of her nephews out on a hunting trip out to some family property that they had that kind of ran parallel also to the Bluegrass Parkway. And he and his grandson were just walking out into the field, and wasn't long, maybe 5 minutes, and a sniper's bullet came out of the bushes and struck Tommy in the chest, killing him instantly. Um, of course, that was, horrible. I mean, his grandson, had to make the 911 call and had to call his grandmother, Crystal's mother. So now she is, she's lost her daughter, and 16 months later, someone has now shot and, killed her husband as well. Um, During the investigation of that shooting, they did find where it was very apparent that someone had pulled up on the Bluegrass Parkway up against their property, and they actually found the area where they had, broken limbs and pushed limbs back where they had been sitting there. I mean, this was a targeted shooting, and they had basically waited on him. And of course, that immediately, put the talk into everybody's ear that, oh, her parents were making too much noise. The Houcks have been here forever. They're old money. That kind of thing. Small town. Old money, and the things that people sometimes believe go along with that are theirs, but they're really not. But yeah, they, people kind of put it together that they totally believe that he was, killed because of the fact that they were still continuing to be so vocal about finding their daughter. Um, this case, it went nowhere though. They found a few fingerprints on the, the windows of the car, but, like I think one of them ended up being one of her kids. Um, they found some hair in the car, but these were long hair, wasn't it, clearly not a man's hair, so they didn't have them tested or anything like that. And, this case just kind of drummed along. Um, it was investigated by the Bardstown Police Department, the Nelson County Sheriff's Department, and the Kentucky State Police for 4 years. And finally, the FBI took over the case, and they had the case for a year and a half. And thankfully, due to technology improvements and things like that, one of the things that they found in her car has ended up being what has given them, the information that they needed to actually um, put charges on people. And finally, three people were charged in her murder and disappearance, and so far anyway. And that, of course, is her boyfriend Brooks Houck, Steve Lawson, who is a longtime employee of the Houck family, and Steve Lawson's son, Joey Lawson. Steve and Joey Lawson were both charged with conspiracy to murder Crystal Rogers and tampering with physical evidence. And Brooks, of course, has been charged with her murder as well as tampering with physical evidence. Um, her body to this day has never been found. Steve Lawson was tried earlier in the year and he was found guilty. And this week the trial started for Brooks Houck and Joey Lawson. And so hopefully, we'll get through this and we'll, get justice for Crystal because she deserves it. She's waited a long time for it. There's been for quite a while, there's kind of a little, been a series of murders that have happened in that area that people have always talked about and thought were connected or being, done by the same person. Um, and hopefully this will bring justice to at least one of those. Um, Tommy Ballard, her father, his murder at this point is still unsolved. As well as, I think it's three more cases, one of them being another Bardstown police officer. So, I'm really hoping that with this case finally coming to trial, that, maybe we can get rolling on some of these other, other cases that deserve justice as well. Crystal left behind five children, and and then her mother not only lost her daughter, but ended up losing her husband as well. And so this family deserves justice. Um, Apparently the phone, from what I understand, like I said, as technology has improved, you can do more with phones now. So, from what I understand, there's a lot of information coming out in trial from her phone, that is disproving a lot of the things that Brooks stated in some of his many interviews that he ended up doing. Um, as well as some of the things that some of the others have given in their interviews. His brother Nick Hout was he is no longer a police officer. You know, he was fired by the police department. So and as he should have been. I think that they were Brooks' vehicle was caught on uh, camera footage. I don't know if it was from a house or a store or what, but the night that she disappeared, July the 3rd, um, they actually have them with his brother Nick following him in his patrol car. Can't explain that. But anyway, all of that's coming out in the trial this week. So, if you find yourself, if you're one like me, I'm always watching trials, and right now we just got through with the Karen Reed trial, and so um, which was very, very long and very tiring. But, if you can actually watch this trial, but one of my favorite channels, Lawyer Lee, there aren't any cameras allowed in the courtroom there, but Lawyer Lee has driven to Kentucky and she is attending the trial. And so I think that she's given like a little midday update every day, and then of course in the evening when she gets home, gets back to her room, she's going live and giving everybody an update of what happened. So if this sounds interesting to you, it really is. I mean, like I said, this has been a long time coming. She went missing, July of 2015, and it's 2025. That's 10 years. That's way too long for anyone to have to wait for justice. It really is. Especially a 34-year-old beautiful, young mother, had five, beautiful children and didn't deserve what she got. So head over to, as I said, Lawyer Lee's channel if you want like daily updates of what's going on in the court. And of course, she'll be there till the end when they get a verdict. Um, and I guess that is all I have. I just wanted to bring that. I just wanted to bring that case, up because, like I said, I kind of feel like I've been following this case since the beginning. Like since it happened, I've been following it, and it just, it was amazing to see how quickly it stalled out. It stalled out so quickly. But again, it's small towns, old family, old families, old money, and sometimes they think that they can do things and get away with it that others, can't, and even if they're a police officer, and it's not true. So, sorry. If you break the law, you got to pay for it. And this is one case that I feel like a lot of people have forgotten about, or maybe you didn't even know about it. So, but it, like I said, Lawyer Lee is there and she is bringing in all the tidbits every day after court. So, anyway, I hope everybody had a great day today. Um, and it's kind of late, so I guess I hope you have a great day tomorrow too. um, I'm not sure what I'm going to cover tomorrow, but I definitely wanted to get in this one about Crystal Rogers because, like I said, it's been way, way too long, and she deserved justice. So, alrighty, and we will see you guys later. As always, have fun, be safe, and always, always, always remember that you are loved.